is club classics. Club classics. Club classics. Yeah, I wanna dance.
Bloomers are back, and there is nothing I love more than the return of these fluffy little shorts to our wardrobes and into the mainstream. But whilst we're roaming around the boozers of our locality, blissfully ignorant in our short shorts emulating Charlie XCX, little do we know that bloomers played a massive role in the history of women's rights in the United States and in the UK for a very short period between 1851 and 52. Bloomerism blossomed into the mainstream in 1851 after Elizabeth Smith Miller had enough of the restrictive, tight-laced corsets and long skirts that would get covered in mud in her garden. Inspired by the salwar, which are baggy trousers gathered at the ankle, worn by both men and women and a staple in Turkish traditional fashion, Elizabeth did the unforgivable thing. She shortened her dress to 4 inches below the knee and donned beneath it a pair of these shorts. A cousin of the famous suffragist, Elizabeth Stanton, Elizabeth went to visit her and her neighbour Elizabeth Bloomer in 1851, and the craze was born. Bloomer was the editor of a newspaper called The Lily and brought the outfit into the mainstream in the April edition of her magazine. And by May, women were writing from all over America for the recipe of the trend spread across the pond to London, where another American suffragist and abolitionist wore them to the World Peace Congress and featured in the London-based Blackwood Ladies magazine and Gazette of the fashionable world. The new bloomer costume, now so much the rage amongst the ladies of the northern states of America, has made no progress amongst the fair of Great Britain. A number of the leading papers in the United States predict that in 6 months' time, the new dress will be almost universally and they adopted. Further call on every sensible and self-thinking woman to consult her comfort, despite the clamour of narrow-minded fault-finders. Bloomers, whilst popular amongst women, were a bit of a statement piece, becoming closely associated with the suffragette movement. It became a symbol for the shifting roles and societal expectations of women, which did leave some to shy away from them. In the early 19th century, women's dress was highly restrictive and prescriptive, with heavy structured forms and lots of layers that shaped the body in a very specific way. And so emerged the Victorian dress reform movement, which coincided with the first wave of feminism between the 1850s and 1890s, calling for emancipation from the dictates of fashion. Current styles like tightly laced busts and heavy skirts were so restrictive and reinforced unrealistic beauty ideals and expectations of women that could actually lead to serious health risks to the wearer. Ribs were certainly broken in the tight lacing of corsets. Supporters of fashionable dresses contended that corsets maintained an upright and good figure as a necessary structure for a moral and well-ordered society. These dress reformers contested that women's fashions were not only physically detrimental, but the results of a male conspiracy to make women subservient by cultivating them in slave psychology. To replace the tight corset, so emerged the emancipation bodice, which was a sleeveless dress with buttons on the front and sides and enabled the weight of a heavy skirt to be distributed more across the torso. So the bloomer suit became a symbol of rabble-rousing women. It wasn't long before bloomers began to attract police attention in London. This is an account from the Bow Street Police Museum. In September of 1851, the London Illustrated News reported how the residents of London's Brompton Square were astonished by 3 young and beautiful ladies appearing in full bloomer costume. 2 ladies in the unusual costume were in the West End, passing out handbills encouraging women and dressmakers to join the Association of Bloomers founded near Fitzroy Square. Reynolds newspaper published an article titled "A Dexterous Bloomer" in 1851, reporting that 3 women had dressed in feathered hats and bloomers, referred to as a costume of the ridiculous, and had too much to drink at a salon in Marlborough Street the previous evening. One of the women, Jane Watts, was wearing unmentionables, referring to how her bloomers looked like ladies' undergarments. These women, leaving the bar, had apparently caused a commotion, surrounded by a crowd of at least 100 persons, where a fight ensued with another woman. Watson, who was sharing the virtues of the bloomer costume, reportedly tore the skirts from her dress, provoking a violent row in which Watson also allegedly punched another young woman, knocking her to the ground. At this point, a police officer came to arrest Watson, and the other 2 bloomers, unobstructed by their long skirts, at the sight of the officer, darted off with the speed of a deer. Bloomers faced such an extreme backlash that they did somewhat get cancelled in the court of public opinion, with women being ridiculed and shouted at in the streets. They were heavily associated with the charge ahead for the right to vote and did have the piss taken out of them, with magazines like Punch showing women doing other mannish activities like smoking, drinking and acting like policemen. But they did make their eventual comeback after some endorsement from London's Rational Dress Association, after becoming more of a sporting wear for activities like swimming, cricket, and especially cycling. The blog post from the Bow Street Police concludes the topic nicely. In conclusion, although initially met with ridicule, the bloomer costume symbolised the larger movement for women's rights and gender equality in America and England. The arrival of the bloomer costume in the summer of 1851 stirred curiosity and controversy, highlighting public resistance to change. Although it was not illegal for women to wear bloomers, their spectacular appearance caused crowds to gather around and follow women wearing bloomers, attracting police attention. And I think that's a wonderful place to end. Please let me know your thoughts on the bloomer movement yourself. Personally, I'm quite taken with their 2024 resurgent. And if you like this episode, please give us a like and subscribe for more. I bring